Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we're going to be looking at excerpts from a book called Thinking and Destiny.
Oh, wow.
It's a fascinating look at the nature of reality,
Okay.
consciousness, and destiny.
Okay.
And it's dense,
Hmm.
but it's got some really intriguing ideas
Okay.
about how our thoughts can shape our reality, not just like
Oh,
in
sure.
this life, but across multiple lifetimes.
Okay. Yeah, it really goes deep. It lays out a whole system
Yeah.
for understanding how everything is interconnected. And it even kind of redefines how we understand the physical world. Like it starts with the sun.
Yeah. And that's where I think it gets really interesting because we've always been taught to think of the sun as this giant
Right.
burning ball of fire.
Yeah, like a campfire in the sky, right?
Right, exactly.
But Thinking in Destiny presents a very different picture. It describes the sun as a focal point of forces, more like a giant cosmic lens. It's concentrating energy rather than burning like a traditional fire.
Mm.
And this idea is central to the book's whole multi-layered view of reality.
So it's not just about the sun, right? Like how does that tie
Yeah.
into the rest of this multi-layered reality that the book talks about?
Well, the physical world that we see and experience, that's just one layer within a larger system.
Okay.
The book calls this the Earth sphere, and within it are other layers, like the form world, the life world, and the light world,
Okay.
and then beyond the Earth sphere are even more layers, the spheres of water, air, and fire.
Okay. So you have these different spheres. They're all sort of coexisting,
Right.
but we're only really aware of the
Right.
physical one, the Earth sphere.
It really makes you question what's actually real, doesn't it?
Right. And how does that then tie back into us? Like
Yeah.
how we experience and shape
Right.
our own lives within all of this.
That's where this idea of the Triune Self comes in,
Oh.
which is another central concept from the book.
Mhm.
And it basically proposes that we are not just a single entity, but we're actually made up of three parts: the doer, the thinker,
Okay.
and the knower.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. What are these three different parts? What do they do?
So think of the doer as the part of you that's focused on experiencing the physical world.
Okay.
Driven by feelings, desires. It's the part that wants to, taste delicious food or listen to music or feel the warmth of the sun.
So the part of us that kind of seeks pleasure and avoids pain.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the book suggests that, when the doer is in charge all the time, it can lead us into this cycle of desire and suffering.
Okay.
So that's where the thinker comes in. So this part is associated with reason and rightness.
Okay.
It operates more in the mental realm, helping the doer make sense of those experiences,
Yeah.
kind of guiding it toward a more balanced path.
So the thinker's almost like our inner voice of reason,
Yeah.
trying to help us make good choices.
Yeah, exactly. To help us analyze and understand, make choices that align with our values.
Okay.
And then we have the knower.
Okay.
And this part represents our true identity. It's like the core of our being.
Mm-hmm.
And it resides in that light world we talked
Right.
about earlier. It's the source of our intuition, our deepest knowing,
Okay.
and our connection to something bigger than ourselves.
So it's almost like we have this team happening inside of each of us.
Yeah.
The doer wants to experience things. The thinker is analyzing and trying to guide.
Mm-hmm.
And the knower's providing this deeper understanding.
That's a pretty fascinating model.
That is fascinating.
Right.
But if we have these distinct parts,
Right.
how do they communicate with each other?
Well, and this is where things get really interesting. The book describes this system of breaths and atmospheres that
Right.
connect and influence the triune self.
Breaths and atmosphere.
It sounds a little
mystical.
out there.
Yeah.
But the book describes them in a very specific way.
Okay.
So there are three types of breaths: psychic, mental, and noetic.
Okay.
And the psychic breath is how the doer connects to the physical world and experiences things through the senses.
So every time we take a breath, we're taking in information from the world around us?
Exactly.
Okay.
Then there's the mental breath. This allows the doer and the thinker to communicate, helping us process our experiences, make sense of them. And finally, the noetic breath.
Okay.
This is a more subtle energy flow,
Okay.
connects the thinker to the knower,
Okay.
allowing us to access intuition and deeper understanding.
So it's almost like these breaths are the language of our inner world.
Yeah.
They're facilitating communication between these different parts of ourselves.
Exactly. And then along with these breaths, the book describes these three corresponding atmospheres, you
Okay.
know, psychic,
Gotcha.
mental, noetic, and think of them as these energetic fields that surround and influence each part of the triune self. So the psychic atmosphere
Mm.
is where feelings and desires are generated.
Okay.
The mental atmosphere is where thoughts take shape.
Mhm.
And the noetic atmosphere is that realm of pure consciousness where the knower resides.
Wow. Sounds like we have this whole ecosystem happening inside of us
Right.
with these breaths flowing between these different parts of ourselves, these
Yeah.
atmospheres influencing how they function.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really different way
It is.
of looking at who we are and how we operate in the world.
It is. And this complex interplay between the triune self, the breaths, and the atmospheres, it's essential to understanding the book's most central concept,
Right.
the law of thought as destiny.
Yeah. The idea that our thoughts
Yeah,
can
yeah.
shape our reality.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people talk about this, but thinking in destiny really takes it to a whole other level.
It does. It's not just about positive thinking. It's really about a specific system by which thoughts become reality. And it even extends that process across multiple lifetimes.
Okay, so how does that system work? Like, how do our thoughts actually manifest in the physical world?
So the book explains that thoughts originate in our mental atmosphere. Imagine them like seeds being planted in the soil of our minds.
Okay.
But for those seeds to grow and bear fruit, they need to gather substance, they need energy. And where do they get that from? They get that from the life world and the form world, those other layers within the earth sphere.
So it's almost like our thoughts are these blueprints that are drawing energy and matter from other realms to create our reality.
That's a great way to put it. It's like they act as magnets, attracting and shaping the building blocks of reality to manifest as actions or objects or events in the physical world.
So every thought we have has the potential to create a consequence in the physical world.
It really makes you think about the responsibility we have for each thought, right?
So what happens to a thought then?
Yeah.
After it's been exteriorized,
Yeah.
as the book calls it? Does it just disappear?
No. It has a lifespan and a cycle.
Okay.
So it's generated, it gathers substance, it manifests in the physical world, and then the consequences of it, both physical and non-physical, are reflected back to the thinker. And this is where the idea of balancing thoughts becomes really important.
Balancing thought.
Yeah, so imagine like a scale
Okay.
where each thought we have is placed on one side.
Okay.
And if we keep adding thoughts that are driven by, selfish desires, the doer without the guidance of the thinker and knower,
Yeah.
then the scale becomes unbalanced, leading to suffering and all these negative consequences that can ripple through our lives and even into future lifetimes.
So it's almost like karmic debt.
You could think of it that way. But the book says we can balance the scale by cultivating thoughts that are in line with our higher nature, with the wisdom of the thinker and the understanding of the knower.
So it's not about suppressing our desires,
Right.
but it's more about refining them.
Exactly. Choosing thoughts and actions that lead to, genuine fulfillment and harmony for ourselves and for the world around us.
So this process of balancing our thoughts is crucial to shaping
Absolutely.
a positive destiny,
Yeah.
both in this life and beyond.
Right. And this brings us to another really fascinating concept that the book explores. The idea of re-existence.
Re-existence. So we're talking reincarnation here.
We are. The idea that we live multiple lives.
Okay, I'm curious to hear how thinking in destiny presents that.
So the book dives into this idea that the doer portion of the triune self goes through this cycle of death and rebirth, experiencing multiple lifetimes to learn and grow and evolve. It's like a school for the doer, providing opportunities to experience the consequences of its thoughts and actions, learn from its mistakes, and ultimately move towards liberation from suffering.
So that raises a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like, what happens between those lives? Do we come back with like a clean slate?
Right.
Or do we carry something with us from those previous experiences?
Well, thinking in destiny gets into all of that.
This is fascinating. It makes you rethink your whole perspective
Yes.
on life,
Yeah.
what it means to be human. But before we dive into what happens between lives and whether or not we carry anything forward, I think we should take a quick break.
Sounds good.
And then we'll come back and explore more of these mind-blowing ideas from thinking and destiny.
Looking forward to it. The book actually explains that there are 12 stages the doer goes through between each life.
12 stages.
Yeah, it's not just you die and then you're immediately reborn.
Right. So what happens during these stages?
It involves a whole process of reflection, purification, and preparation for the next life.
Okay.
And the book even describes realms that kind of sound like the concepts of heaven and hell, where the doer actually experiences the consequences of its actions from the previous life.
That makes sense. It's like a cosmic review process to integrate what you've learned before you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, so if we go through this whole elaborate process between lives, why don't we remember any of it? Like, why do we start each life with what seems like a blank slate?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And the book addresses that, and it suggests that, these direct memories of past lives, they're veiled for a reason.
Okay.
Imagine if you were burdened by the weight of every decision, every heartbreak, every regret from all of your past lives.
Oh, yeah,
It would be pretty overwhelming.
That would be a lot to carry.
So this veil of forgetfulness is actually kind of a gift.
Right. I see. Yeah, it allows you to approach each new life with a sense of newness and possibility.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does make you wonder, is there any way to access those experiences or the wisdom that we've gained?
If we don't remember directly, is there some way to kind of tap into that?
Well, according to Thinking and Destiny, traces of our past lives can surface in subtle ways.
Okay.
So the book suggests that we can get glimpses of past lives in our dreams through intuitive flashes or even in certain types of memories that just seem to come out of nowhere.
So they're not completely gone.
Right.
They're just hidden.
Exactly. It's like they're still part of us.
Yeah, like below the surface.
Even if they're not right there on the surface. And the book also explains that even though we don't have those conscious memories, we still carry forward certain tendencies and predispositions that were shaped by those past life experiences. It even suggests that we carry, residual feelings and desires from previous animal incarnations.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that we're carrying echoes of our past animal lives into our human existence?
That's what the book suggests.
That's a wild idea.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
So even though we're getting a fresh start with each life, we're not starting completely from scratch.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we inherit this kind of unique tapestry woven from the threads of all our past experiences, both human and animal.
That's a good way to put it.
But the good news is that we have the power to choose how we respond to these inherited tendencies.
Okay.
We can become aware of them, we can work to transform them, and we can create a destiny that aligns with our highest aspirations.
So it's this interesting balance between free will and destiny.
Right.
It's like we're influenced by our past, but we're not imprisoned by it.
Exactly. We still have the power to choose. Our thoughts, our actions, ultimately the direction of our lives.
It's empowering.
It is.
That's a good takeaway.
Yeah, that's a key point that the book makes. It's like the law of thought shapes our destiny, but we're not just puppets of fate.
Right. We have the ability to become conscious creators.
Exactly.
Okay, so that leads to another question.
Yeah.
This idea of the path to conscious immortality.
Right.
What is that? Is the book saying we can actually transcend death and live forever?
Well, it's not about living forever in a physical body.
No.
It's a more profound concept. The book suggests that by purifying our desires, aligning our thoughts with our higher nature, and cultivating this deep understanding of the Triune Self, we can actually break free from the cycle of death and rebirth and achieve a state of conscious immortality.
That sounds incredible.
It does.
But also maybe a little daunting. Like, how do you actually achieve that? What does it look like?
Yeah, well, the book really emphasizes the importance of training the doer.
Okay, that part of us that's driven by desires and impulses.
Exactly.
So it's not about suppressing the doer, but it's more about refining it.
Yeah, guiding it towards choices that are aligned with the wisdom of the thinker and the knowing of the knower.
So it's about integrating those different parts of ourselves so that we're not just reacting to life, but we're consciously choosing how we want to live.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the power and potential within each of us and using that power to shape our destiny.
So are there specific things that we can do to start down that path?
The book suggests that honesty, self-control, and understanding our duties in life, these are all crucial steps on that path.
Those sound like core principles of a lot of spiritual traditions.
They are.
So what makes Thinking in Destiny's perspective unique?
Well, the book goes beyond just listing virtues. It actually provides practical techniques for developing these qualities. It emphasizes things like regenerative breathing and focused thinking as powerful tools.
Regenerative breathing.
Yeah.
And the light of the intelligence. I remember that phrase from earlier.
Right.
Can you elaborate on those a little bit?
Yeah. So regenerative breathing is a specific breathing technique that the book describes in detail.
Okay.
And it's more than just deep breathing.
Okay.
It involves consciously controlling the breath in a way that purifies and energizes the physical body.
Okay.
And also the subtle bodies.
Subtle bodies. So like those other layers of reality that we were talking about.
Yeah, it actually links this practice to the different breaths of the Triune Self.
Okay.
Suggesting that by mastering our physical breath, we can actually influence the flow of the psychic, mental, and noetic breaths within us.
So breathing, which we usually do without even thinking about it,
Right.
can become this conscious tool for transformation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And what about light of the intelligence?
Well, the book describes this as like a conscious light emanating from a higher source that illuminates the mental atmosphere of the Triune Self.
So it's almost like a beacon.
Yeah.
That can help us see through the fog.
Right. It cuts through the illusion
of our everyday lives.
Yeah, it allows the thinker to see clearly and guide the doer towards its true purpose.
It sounds like reclaiming that light of the intelligence is pretty essential on this path.
It is.
So is it something that's lost?
Well,
and we have to find it.
The book says that this light is inherent within each of us.
Okay.
But it can become obscured by, the density of our thoughts and desires.
So it's more like it's there, but it's covered up.
It's like a lamp that's covered in dust.
Right.
The light's still there,
but
it's not shining as brightly.
So the practices that the book outlines help us to clear away that dust.
Exactly. Allow the light to shine more brightly.
And one of those practices is focused thinking.
Yeah.
So is it just about like emptying our minds?
No, it's not just about emptying the mind. It's about filling it with thoughts that are elevating, that inspire us.
So the quality of our thoughts matters.
Absolutely. If we dwell on negative thoughts and fears and anxieties, we're just adding to the darkness.
Yeah.
But if we focus our minds on topics that expand our understanding, connect us to something larger than ourselves, that's how we can draw in that light of the intelligence.
And illuminate our inner world.
Exactly.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
It's like we have this powerful resource inside of us.
We do.
It's just a matter of learning how to tap into it.
Right.
Okay.
And that's a key message of thinking and destiny. It's about empowering ourselves, recognizing our inherent divinity, and choosing thoughts and actions that are in alignment with that divinity.
Yeah, so it's not just about personal transformation.
Right.
It's about contributing to the evolution of humanity.
It is. It's a bigger picture.
Yeah. Okay, so I can imagine some listeners might be thinking at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, this is all very abstract and philosophical. How does this actually apply to my everyday life?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore further as we look at more of the book's ideas.
Okay.
Because the book doesn't just present these abstract concepts, it offers very practical guidance for applying these principles to every aspect of our lives.
So how does thinking and destiny bridge that gap between theory and practice? Let's find out in the final part of our exploration. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
The Triune Self, the law of thought as destiny, re-existence, the light of the intelligence. It's a lot to take in.
A lot to unpack,
But what I appreciate about thinking and destiny is that it doesn't just leave us hanging with these abstract ideas.
Right.
It actually gives us guidance on how to apply them in our lives.
It does. It encourages us to go beyond just understanding these concepts in our heads and to actually start incorporating them into our experience.
Yeah, so where do we start? Like, what are some practical areas where we can really put this into practice?
Well, one of the areas where the book offers some really practical advice is in understanding our relationship with the divine.
Okay, that's a big one. A lot of people have a lot of different beliefs about that.
Right, and thinking in destiny offers a perspective that might challenge some of those traditional beliefs.
Okay. How so?
It suggests that the gods, as we typically understand them, are not these supernatural beings that exist outside of ourselves, but rather they're powerful entities that are created by human thought and worship.
So you're saying the gods are like thought forms?
In a sense, yeah.
That we've collectively brought into existence.
That's what the book proposes.
Okay.
I mean,
it's a bold statement.
It is. It is. So how does the book back that up?
Well, it suggests that these gods, they possess human qualities.
Okay.
They have desires, limitations.
And their power is derived from the belief and the worship of their followers.
Okay.
So they can influence events, they can grant favors.
Okay.
But they're still subject to the law of thought.
So they're not all powerful.
Right. They're not omnipotent.
They're bound by the same laws.
Yeah, they operate within the system.
That we are.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes you wonder about the role of different religions in the world. Right? Are they all worshiping different aspects of the same God, or are they tapping into completely separate entities?
Well, the book has a really interesting take on that.
Okay.
It suggests that different religions are actually tools that are used by higher intelligences to guide humanity's development. They provide moral frameworks. They provide emotional training. But they can also become corrupted by, power struggles and dogma.
Right. It's like the essence of each religion is pure and beneficial.
Right.
But then the human interpretation can sometimes get in the way.
Yeah.
So it's not about finding the right religion.
Right.
But it's about using the teachings of any religion as guideposts on your own individual path.
Exactly. It encourages us to look beyond the surface level of doctrine and focus on cultivating those qualities that all religions aspire to.
So compassion, wisdom, selflessness.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we're not just at the mercy of the gods, if we have the power to shape our own destiny through our thoughts and our actions, what is the ultimate goal? Like, where are we headed with all of this?
Well, thinking in destiny ultimately points toward a path of liberation from suffering and a state of conscious immortality.
So it's not necessarily about living forever in a physical body.
Right. It's more about transcending those limitations, aligning ourselves with the wisdom of the thinker and the knowing of the knower.
So how do we know if we're on the right track? Like, are there any signs that we're moving in that direction?
The book suggests that as we progress on this path, we start to see certain qualities emerge in our lives. We might experience more peace, more joy, a sense of interconnectedness. Our intuition might get stronger. We might find ourselves making decisions that are aligned with our higher good, even if they go against what our ego wants.
Sounds like it's not so much about reaching a specific destination as it is about the journey of growth and transformation.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process, not a one-time achievement.
And it's a journey that anyone can take.
Absolutely.
No matter where they're starting from.
Yeah, that's what's so empowering about thinking in destiny.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we have more control than we often realize.
We're not just victims of fate.
Right, we're active participants.
Yeah.
It's a call to awaken to our true nature, our potential.
Yeah.
To remember that we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
And that we have the power within us to create the life and the world that we want to see.
Exactly.
Well, this deep dive into thinking and destiny has certainly given us a lot to think about.
It has.
I mean, we've explored the nature of reality. The power of thought. The interconnectedness of everything.
It's a big picture.
The potential for transformation. It's a lot.
It is.
And we've only scratched the surface here.
Yeah, there's so much more in the book.
So much more to explore.
Yeah, but hopefully this deep dive has at least sparked some curiosity and inspired you to do some of your own exploration.
Yeah, to go deeper into these ideas.
Remember, the journey of self-discovery is ongoing.
It is.
Each moment is an opportunity to choose thoughts and actions that are in alignment with your highest aspirations.
Yeah, and as thinking and destiny reminds us, we have that power within us.
We do.
To shape our destiny.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, keep exploring the infinite potential that lies within you.